We've looked at the map of our generated world for a bit, but a map doesn't tell you the history, the lore of what is going on in a vast world. Legends does. Be careful not to slip in. This is the place where you can get lost for hours as the entities of your world start to take shape. My name is Telenartho, and here's where we are going to dig deeper. This is the world where we generated a 500-year history with a maximum number of civs and sites for a large world. In other words, there's too much here to reasonably unpack. Frankly, even a medium-sized world with 100 years is probably too much. But the purpose here is not to unpack everything, but rather find a couple of nuggets upon which to build your story. And since we jotted down some things either during the history generation, make use of that pause button, or from our quick look at the map, we know where to begin. Organization here is very loose. Historical figures for people and creatures of note, sites for locations around the map, artifacts and scrolls and codices for notable creations, regions to look at larger sections of the map than sites, underground regions for those underneath sections of the world, structures for notable buildings, and chronicles by age if you have allowed history to flow through some of the different ages. We're going to start in civilizations and other entities section though, and search up the Gold of Glaze and see what we find. Here we are, Lycum Ficod, the Gold of Glaze. Right now we're looking specifically at the Gold of Glaze, and you can see the trajectory in the clicks at the top of your screen. If you want to leave a tab open, go ahead and navigate to a previous tab if you like. Within an entry, most of the colored text is clickable to look at a linked topic. We see that the Gold of Glaze was a dwarven civ, started in year 1, inhabited by 4 notable dwarves, Dastot, Vabok, Ral, and Udil, and they founded castle spots. They had some performances and ceremonies going in, founded a few more locations, tone channeled, fresh arches, gear arrays, and rock swills in the early 30s. Throughout, you'll likely notice titans, megabeasts, becoming the enemies of the civilization, and you might click on one to learn more. For instance, I like dragons, so Somlus Sizzled Ivory the Golden catches my eye, so I click on it. We see that Somlus has been prolific in attacking and killing others, as dragons do, in the early years, and this scroll bar on the right shows that his history is quite long. Let's take a quick glance and see if something catches. What's this? The Speech of Light was looted by Somlus. What's the Speech of Light? Just go ahead and click on it. Well, it's a legendary persimmon spear. Probably not the most impressive weapon, but it did strike down Atha Mucus Frenzy the Stormy Blazes, a minotaur of some note, in 118. After the dragon claims it, it seems to fall into history. If we were an adventurer, maybe this would be something we would quest for. Or maybe we build a fort and start seeking out where the dragon might be. Let's go back to Somlus. Scrolling down some more. Quite an extensive list of things. Oh, in 186, he took Tomb Skulls, the Dusts of Oblivion from the Shrine of Bones. In Wisp Sieged. What's Wisp Sieged? What's Tomb Skull? Let's take a look. Okay, Wisp Siege is a forest retreat founded by some elves. Quite a long history, but let's skip it out for now. Let's skip it for now and close it out. Maybe we'll go back, but probably not. What is Tomb Skull? Well, it's a legendary small rope reed left glove size for elves. Again, not the most impressive thing, but again, claimed by the dragon Somlus and falls into history from there. Scrolling down, let's go down closer to the end here. This is such a long history for this dragon. The last event was an attack on the Obscene sewers in 495. Interesting. Below the history of creatures like this, we have related entities, of which there are quite a few. Notable kills, 195 of them. And other kills, in this case, 219 of them. So, quite impressive, even for a dragon. So, maybe we shouldn't be crossing paths with this dragon. But what if we did? Well, let's get back on topic with the Gold of Glaze and see if we can't figure out what happened. Again, the history is long here, but we can skip to the end and see what we find. The last entry is from the midwinter of 408. The monstrous torments destroyed Windwelths. The previous few entries indicate that there were goblins involved. But let's look at the monstrous torments, shall we? It's a goblin civilization, founded again in year 1. Okay. If we scroll down in here, lots of ceremonies. Oh, look at all this. Looks like they destroyed castle spots. You remember castle spots from Gold of Glaze? Well, apparently they raised it and destroyed everything. Yeah, the early summer of 362. All right, let's take a look for our queen, shall we? Our queen was Vucar, right? We're going to click out of this and go to historical figures, and we'll search for Vucar. Oh, there seems to be a lot of Vucars here. Vucar Dike Takers. Oh, that's interesting. The queen of our dwarven civilization is actually an elf. Born in 296, settled in castle spots in 318, and oh, how interesting. In 321, the elf vampire Enefa toppled the government of Vucar of the Gold of Glaze and assumed control of castle spots. And we know that castle spots fell some 40 years later than that. All right, moving down, we see that she moved away and settled in Windwells in 376, moved away again, fled actually, and eventually came back to 423. And Windwells, huh? It's a fort founded in 376. But as you can see, we can keep on going in and just keep clicking through until we find information that we're looking to uncover, whatever we can possibly find. Now, this is already getting long, but I also said we'd look into the Arches of Growth. So let's take a look back on the Civilizations and Entities tab and take a look for the arches. Rovod Ball, Arches of Growth. Again, a civilization founded in year 1 with 4 dwarves and 4 dwarves of note. And you can see that a couple of them are listed as lost ghouls. What's interesting about this in Legends mode is sometimes they're listed as a lost ghoul because that's what they became eventually. But if we click in here and actually look, died of old age in year 80. So Kadol was a regular dwarf up until year 80, but then was brought back from the dead by the human necromancer Irol in 427. So when you see things like a lost ghoul in the foundation of a fort, it might not be a lost ghoul at the beginning. Anyways, we wanted to look for Papermountains, which was in 74. We'll go there. Quite a few things happening in here, but we're just looking for Papermountains. I could just go back to sites and look for Papermountains in there. So you see it's right here. But in 74, the Papermountains was founded by the Mint Key. Again, some undead dwarves, but they were undead later, not right away. But we wanted to see what kind of monster AE is. And of course, I can look into AE lash lances from the notable creatures screen, so we could actually go back there. Historical figures, and we'll search up AE. Lash lances, that's the third one on this list. And you'll see that the Forgotten Beast was the enemy of a few things, devoured some livestock, and then struck down a cavefish poison thrall, but again, not necessarily an actual undead. So it struck down some creatures and then settled in Papermountains, and that's all we hear. So if we settle into Papermountains, would we have a fight on our hand? I mean, reclaims are not necessarily my cup of tea, but we could always go and look. If we were in adventure mode, we could go over and just wander in and see what AE is up to. But what is AE? A forgotten beast? A gigantic skinless cobra with a pair of knobby antennae, and it squirms and fidgets. Beware its poisonous bite. Also is associated with chaos and caverns, so there's a little bit of religion associated with this particular forgotten beast. Also, occasionally you'll see things like Thunder Spirit's hand, which indicates a necromancer's experiment. And you can click on those to take a look at what kind of necromancer experiment it is. In this particular case, it is an egg creature first created by the human doomed hunter Ithros after horrible experiments on another human. So these are human necromancer experiments, or necromancer experiments based on humans, I should say. So where do we go? Keep delving deeper into the lore of this world? Or is this enough to pick a civilization, find a cozy place to call home, which might not be so cozy, and see what happens in the world around us as we go exploring? Truthfully, that's the story for you to tell. So go find it and tell it. Oh, and when you're done in Legends, click done in the top right. Launch right into Fortress mode and get started. Thanks for listening. If you have any comments or suggestions, or even better, your own favorite stories that you uncovered in Legends, please leave them below. If you want to see me play some Dwarf Fortress live, catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Telenartho, or right here on YouTube. Thanks.